Hi, my name is Elizabeth Sabet, and I'm a transformational, transpersonal spiritual emergence coach in Lubbock, Texas, in the United States. I'm also the current board president of the American Center for the Integration of Spiritually Transformative Experiences. And I'm so excited to be included in Dr. Nicole Gruhl's launch on her book, Notes. In the United States, where we have to use the DSM to diagnose and treat mental health disorders, the mindset is around pathology. And what Nicole's book does is very clearly delineates how these are not pathological states of consciousness or pathological ways of being in the world, but actually deep transformational work that's come up into a person's psyche, into their consciousness, to help them move through the work that's up for them to do psychologically and perhaps spiritually as well. And so if I were a professional that didn't know anything about notes, this book would be a great place for me to start. If a client handed me this book and said, here, this is what I think is going on with me, and this is the perspective I want you to come to me at, then it would be very easy for me to sit down and read this. And it also leads me to other research as well. And so her work is excellent for the experiencer who's going through the mental health program. For an experiencer who is not needing to go through the mental health pathway, who is looking for answers to what's happening to them, this book is amazing. And I have it right here, right? It's probably backwards on your screen, but The Power of Notes, I just love it. As an experiencer myself, I've been an experiencer from childhood, and I didn't read a single book specifically about spiritually transformative experiences or non-ordinary transcendent experiences until I was in my late 40s. If I would have had a book like this prior to that time to help me understand and delineate and give language to what was happening to me, it would have been invaluable. And that's the other thing that this book does, is it helps put the experience into a language that's easily relatable to the experiencer and understandable to a clinician. So those are the two most important values that I see in this book. And my favorite, I have to say, my favorite chapter is the chapter on leadership. It's certainly how I ended up in leadership, was through my notes. I would have never anticipated being a leader in any field at all, much less psycho-spiritual development. And yet my experiences have brought me into that pathway. And so I think that for those people who have had a note and who have developed that yearning to live out their purpose and the meaning that they've discovered in their own personal note, this book gives them the courage and even a pathway for doing that. And, you know, it's so helpful when you know that other people as well have used their note for something constructive and beautiful, that it is not something to be afraid of, even though there can be the dark experiences as well. That's the other thing I appreciated about this book, is that it didn't just focus, as from an experiencer perspective, it didn't just focus on the love and the light and the heavenly experiences, but also acknowledges those really dark experiences and fearful experiences that we can have with the note, and help us understand even the purpose of the darker notes. So I really appreciated that perspective being written in the book as well. I would encourage anyone who has had a note to give this book, to get a copy of this book and give to their families, because the other problem, the greatest challenge that experiencers have, is sharing their experience with their family, with their loved ones and friends. So many people are not only just invalidated, but some completely ostracized from their families because they've had the experience and they're talking about it. And so this book would also be very, very valuable to give to friends and family members of experiencers as well. And I love Nicole's perspective on how she describes things and how she deals with, one camp of belief system about notes says one thing and another camp says another. And she integrates and marries those perspectives well and gives you, the reader, the opportunity to decide what is true for you. So that is, the perspective and the work of a real professional coach as well. And I can see her coaching expertise shine through in this book, not telling people what to believe or telling people what to do, but giving them the information and asking them, now, what do you think? What do you believe? So again, you don't get that. I haven't read that in any other books about notes before, and I really appreciate that. And I think that's really special about this book as well. Thank you so much for letting me come into your conversation today.